we're talking about how to strengthen your knees without hurting them. And the main essence is to strengthen the muscles around the knee, so in the front, the top, and then the hip muscles have a lot to do with the forces at your knee. So the first test I looked at is basically what is your form like going from sitting to standing? And one of the key features I look at is to keep your torso in line with your shin bone. And if your torso leans forward too much, it generally means you have a weakness in your hip or your back, and having those weaknesses puts more force on your knees. So it's kind of a give and take on how to strengthen your knees without hurting them. So there's a few modifications we're going to have to make throughout today's session, but these exercises over the period of weeks and months can help reduce the stress on your knees. So I'm going to have my client go from sitting to standing, and we're just going to see where her torso to shin bone line is, and that is something we're going to try to improve, say the next time we do an evaluation in 8 or 9 weeks. So go ahead and go sitting and standing, and then we'll come back down. And again, you'll notice she comes a little bit too far forward. So I'm going to have her, just for assessment purposes, go to the higher box. So we're going to go to a 24-inch height. And let's see how her line is from her torso to her shin bone when we increase the height of the chair. So go ahead. Good. And back down. So we can see she gets much more closer to keeping those two lines parallel. So now we're going to start with some exercises that are going to help you get along the road of strengthening your quads and your shin bone muscle to help take the stress off your knee. Good. We're keeping this perpendicular to the ground, so most of the weight stays into your hips. A little crunching is okay, but we don't want any pain. So I like this heel rock back exercise by keeping a straight line from your ankle through your hip all the way to your shoulders, and it really makes the front of your shin bone muscle, your anterior tibialis, and your quads work in ways that they don't normally. So it strengthens the muscles in the front without bothering your knee. Of all these exercises, I'd say this is the least bothersome and one that I rarely have to modify for folks. So in this bent over row, we want the knees a little bent, but for the most part, you're using your hip muscles and your back muscles to keep you strong during the arm motion. So by the end of 3 sets of 10 reps for this client, her hamstrings and glutes will be fatigued. In that we don't want your knees to touch, which forces you to use the muscles in the back of your hips. And it's self-limiting, so you can only go so far down until your knees touch. You'll see for her, the line of her torso comes slightly forward compared to the line of her shin bone, and that's something we're working on with the other exercises.